Hey guys, how are you all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today for you guys, there's another movie review. Today we're tackling Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, baby. And it's been a while since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in 2017. And it's funny because I went with my dad and uncle and my dad was like, what happened in 2? And I'm like, you can't do that because there's stuff that, like they're in Thor: Love and Thunder, they're in Infinity War, they're in Endgame, you can't go... strictly by 2 right to 3. But as a trilogy, I think the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies were pretty friggin' tight. I thought they were really well done. Now, the MCU, especially in Phase 4, as we all know, even if we don't want to admit it, it has lacked a little bit in quality, right? Not only in terms of just the woke stuff and all the females are automatically better than the males and they put them down and there's all this other weird crap in Phase 4, but just the overall feeling of Marvel really hasn't been there since Endgame. You get like your Shang-Chi, you get your Spider-Man No Way Home, you get your Moon Knight, stuff like that. But, there's a lot of the products in Phase 4 that weren't necessarily top tier like they really should have been. And then enter Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which isn't, it's the second film in Phase 5. The first was Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which was an alright movie. You can go watch my review on that, but it was just kind of, it was kind of whatever, it was good. Like, I'll buy it on Blu-ray, it was a good movie. But it just wasn't as hitting me as much as I wanted it to. This film effing hit me pretty hard. Now, obviously, it feels good to rate an MCU film, and I do have 1 or 2 issues with it. But it feels good to get back to this style of film where there's nothing woke, there's nothing either far left or far right propaganda. It's just a good, solid film in the MCU, much like Phase 1 to 3, right? It was just good. There wasn't any kind of underlying political message. Women better than men. They got all this other crap in there. Just everyone's equal. Everyone's good. There's no political messaging. Just a good, solid film. And that's what this is. But it's more than that. It's the end of Guardians of the Galaxy as a trilogy. The end of that franchise, so to speak. Because, of course, James Gunn directed it. And he also wrote and directed it. And now he's, of course, doing the DCU, the new stuff like Superman Legacy, all that stuff. By the way, I should have said this in the beginning, I forgot. This is a non-spoiler review. I'm going to do spoilers in the end very quickly because I want you guys to go see it yourself. I don't want you to get ruined. But again, no spoilers for this section. I'll do the spoilerous stuff toward the end. But, yeah, I just think it's a really good movie. Now, obviously, again, I'm glad we're not in that woke mindset anymore. At least, hopefully, we're past that. But it's just a well-made movie in and of itself. Like, the writing is good. The comedy's good. This is probably the funniest of all 3 Guardians films. I know the common criticism of the MCU is that, oh, they're too funny, or, oh, everything's too jokey now. Thor: Love and Thunder, Ant-Man, everything's just funny, joke. Nothing is serious. And this film... because it's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, you're expecting that, You're expecting comedy. And it works, for the most part. There's 1 or 2 moments where I wasn't laughing, but that's subjective. Humor doesn't, humor is subjective. But all of this stuff within it, it's because, again, you're watching a Guardians film, you understand that's what you're kind of signing up for, So I think it was really well done in terms of comedy. Again, not everyone's going to laugh at everything, but I do think that it had some pretty funny moments in there, which is, of course, really good to see. And again, nothing felt forced. It felt very natural. The Guardians as characters, Drax is stupid, we get that. But everyone in this movie, between either Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, or Infinity War, Endgame, their brief spout in Thor: Love and Thunder, I guess, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which... does take place canonically before this film, which is where they get their base in Nowhere, and you find out Star-Lord is related to Mantis and that, so there's a lot of cool stuff in there. But again, the comedy never felt forced. It wasn't like, oh, we need to break up the mature stuff and the action with a joke, because that's what we do! That's not what they're doing anymore, which is really good. At least in this one. They never felt the need to do that. The action in this is, of course, I don't want to say it's your standard MCU fare, because it is more than that. There's 1 or 2 segments. There's this one segment, which I'm not going to ruin, but it's to a song I've never even heard of, but it was good. And it's, of course, it's like, the classic, they love to use online, especially on Twitter, the hallway scene, the Luke Skywalker hallway scene, Darth Vader, Daredevil, the bog standard hallway scene that's in every effing thing now. It's not really a hallway, it's more of like a room, like a big room, but, It's one of the best action scenes in the entire MCU. Like, hands down. And I'm not saying that lightly. Like, my favorite action scenes of all time are like the Kingsman 1, 2, and the Kingsman. Where it feels very stylized, very exciting, very in-your-face. They set it to real-world music. And it's not just some, some kind of score. like that. They definitely had a really good, song to fit that action scene. And the way that James Gunn directs, man, he's like the Vaughn guy, Matthew Vaughn of Kingsman. He's like Matthew Vaughn his little brother. You know what I mean? That's not to say it's bad, but where the Kingsman fight scenes are, in my opinion, some of, if not the best action in all of cinema, at least from a directive standpoint, this felt like that as well. There was a lot of moments in it, but that hallway room scene to that one song, man, if you know what I'm talking about, it's a good effing song for that. And it's a good fight scene. I mean, again, the camera work is great. The one-shot takes are great. The way that James Gunn writes like humor into the action scene without them needing to pause and talk. The humor is in the motion, which is really cool. So yeah, man, action scenes are great. I think it's really cool. Of course, it's filmed great. I think it's probably the best action of the entire Guardians trilogy. And yeah, I mean, considering what we had in Miss Marvel, which is like foam bubbles, and She-Hulk, where she punches like a drag queen or whatever the hell that was, that lady, I don't even know her name. I watched it, but it's erased in my mind. At like a wedding or something, it's horrible. So this is actually good. You know, I know Shang-Chi had it, and Eternals had some pretty cool action from the girl that was blind or deaf or whatever. She was fast. I don't know her name, but that was cool. You know, so Spider-Man No Way Home, you get Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight. There's good Marvel action post-Endgame, but this felt really good, and it just felt very James Gunn. You know what I mean? It felt like he directed his ass off when he made this. Like he went hard, man. He just went for this one. The whole movie was good. This one scene, he was like, we're banging off, and it was that's not a sex joke. It was just good. He popped off, man. He just went full ham. He went crazy. He just he got them stinky doinkies, if you know what I'm saying. And it was very good scene. The whole film is great, but that one scene, man, I was smiling. You know what I mean? I don't smile a whole lot during action scenes because I'm absorbed into it, but that John Wick Chapter 4 moment, if you know what I'm talking about, and of course this, I was like, wow, I was just grinning ear to ear. It was outstanding. And of course the intensity, the other, not talking action scenes, but like the level of violence in this film. Of course, you go into the MCU movies, expecting violence because they're, in my opinion, the MCU is not for children. It is for teenagers, 13, 14. I know some of you are like, that's a kid. To me, and to hopefully the rest of the world, a teenager is not a kid, they're a teenager. There's a difference. You get a kid, a teenager, and an adult. And the MCU is for late teens, I would say. And this is a prime example. Not only do they have the MCU's first F word, which was pretty cool, because I'm not some kind of weirdo like, oh, F word, but it was cool, you know what I mean? I thought they would have had that by now. But the level of violence and action in this film, there's like a specific scene that kind of actually reminded me of Evil Dead Rise. It was pretty gruesome. Of course, it wasn't affecting me, because I'm not desensitized, but I know what goes into movies. So if I see something really effed up, I'm like, oh, that's fake, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, they didn't actually kill that guy on camera, you know what I mean? So, where other people might wince and be like, it's too much for Marvel. For me, again, without spoiling it, it's hard to do that without ruining it, but there's a few moments where it's like, that's pretty gruesome. But again, it's just, in my opinion, the MCU, ever since Iron Man 1 back in 2008, the MCU's never been for children. So if you were like, is this appropriate for my child? I don't think any of it is appropriate for your child. But again, I'm not a parent. I'm just saying, that's everyone has their own opinion on that. In my opinion, the MCU is not for children. This whole entire movie is proof of that. Very mature. There's animal cruelty. I'm surprised Peter didn't blow the whole damn thing open and be like, you're fired! But who knows? I don't know how James Gunn... See, James Gunn, he's a very good director, but he's a weird effing guy. He was fired. He was allegedly, all these alleged things, which I'm not even going to get into. So from what I've read, he's kind of a weird bloke, but he makes a good effing film. So that's all, that's fine, whatever, it's fine. But, he technically got fired from making this film, and then Marvel, I don't know how, they said, okay, you can come back, and then he made this film. And I'm glad he did, man, because it's a great film. But again, the action is very good. There is some pretty gruesome moments in there that rival some of the most gruesome in the MCU. I mean, just the thought that Thanos, wiped away half of the universe on every planet in the entire galaxy. I mean, that shit's, R-rated material. That is, 9/11, not to bring that up, but that's, 9/11 times 100 billion. You know what I mean? I know they're not dead, but that's pretty brutal for you to see, or just to fathom. And there's genocidal moments in this film, too. And speaking of genocidal maniacs, the High Evolutionary, right? I know a lot of people were like, he's black! I think he's white in the comics. Look, I'm all for keeping a white guy, keeping a white guy, keeping a black guy, keeping a black guy, keeping an Asian, keeping an Asian. I don't like the race swapping as much as the next guy, but he did an okay job. In the trailer, he's very kind of quiet. He's like, incinerate them. He's very kind of stoic, and I watched the trailer and I said, this guy looks like a shitty villain. He doesn't even scream. I know you don't need to be like a screaming maniac, but he's like, incinerate them. It's like, come on, man, you're whispering like a little girl. And thankfully in the film, he was good. Is he like the best MCU villain of all time? No, but he's good. He's better than half of them. Because look, the MCU has a habit of having decent to okay villains. Some of them are extraordinary. Some of them are not so extraordinary. This guy was kind of in the middle. He was all right. You know what I mean? He was okay. And I thought it was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Obviously, James Gunn music choice is great. So yeah, man, I love the directing. I love the writing. I love the action. I love the story. Of course, this was really based on Rocket Raccoon, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, without getting into that many spoilers, that's all I can really say. But it's a very good film with no political messaging. We need to get back to that, so thank you, James Gunn, for not having anything woke, because I didn't notice anything. It was just a good comic book film, and I'm glad we're hopefully getting back into the mold of those, because that's what we desperately need. No left and right propaganda, just give me a good movie, or give me a good show, you know what I mean? And they did that, so thank you, James Gunn. But sadly, I think this is his last effort, because now he's, of course, like I said, moving on to the DCU. But hey, I enjoyed it for the most part. So, now negatives, because I was going to give it a score, but I got to talk about negatives. So, I don't have too many, because again, a lot of people online actually are saying this is like a top 5 or top 3 MCU film. Like, it's that good. And yeah, you know, I love every MCU movie, but you know, there's some that, you know, The Incredible Hulk, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, I guess 1, 2, 3, you know, stuff like that. Captain America 1, Thor 2. None of those are bad, you know, Iron Man 2, but they're not like, oh my god, the best movie ever, you know what I mean? You get like Infinity War, Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers 1 and 2, you know, stuff like that. Those are the top tier MCU. When you tell me MCU, I think of those. And now I also think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's that good. The character arcs for all of these characters, every member of the Guardians gets their time to shine. And that little moment that you saw in the first two, or that one conversation they had in the first 2 movies, or whatever, it's all paid off here. It's not just about Rocket, not just about Star-Lord, not just about Gamora, or Drax, or Nebula, or Groot, or whoever. Everyone gets a chance to shine. They all have their moment, and they all have their character arcs, where by the end of the film, you really feel like, wow, these characters went on a journey, they learned something, they thrived as characters, and when you watch Guardians 1 to 3, there is a difference in the characters, and their motives, and their emotions, and their whatever, you know, it's good. And there's clearly some effort being put into the writing, right? And unlike Thor Love and Thunder, where they had infinity cones, I get it, funny joke, but that's like making a 9/11 ice cream store, or a fucking Hitler store, you know what I mean? Buy the Jews, you know what I mean? Or buy the whatever, you know? It's just, why would you do that, you know? Taika Waititi is a good director, but a pretty crappy writer, I'm not gonna lie. He kind of has this habit of making everything a joke when it shouldn't be, even if it is funny, or a funny, clever play on words, it shouldn't be a joke. James Gunn understands how to make things funny, when to make things funny, and when to make things extremely dark, brutal, and action-packed, and sometimes even a little brutal. And he does that masterfully. He did it in the first 2 movies good, but in this movie he really struck that tone, and really did a good job with it. So, but yeah, man, as far as negatives, as I was saying, again, there's not a whole lot. I think Adam Warlock, again, it's hard to talk about this stuff, but Adam Warlock in the film, he wasn't underused, but his little arc he went through, his little character moments, they didn't necessarily feel worthy of him even being in the movie. Like, he does the thing, and then it cuts away for a half hour. And then he does another thing, and then it cuts away. Then he does another thing, then he falls over, and then he's done. It's like, what was the point of that? You know what I mean? I guess he learned a lesson at the end without ruining it, but it's just like, okay, why are you here? You know what I mean? I don't get it. So it's a little wonky in that aspect. And then, you know, like I said, there's 1 or 2 jokes that don't matter. They're just kind of whatever. But that's about it, man. Really, my only negative is Adam Warlock. I mean, it's not even that bad, but it's just, there should have been more to that character. And I get it, you know, you got to focus on the Guardians. But, you know, if you're going to have a brand new MCU character that you've been hyping up since Volume 2, you should probably have a little bit more for him to do than just kind of scream and fight and then faint. But whatever. But yeah, like I said, man, it's a very funny movie, very action-packed. I didn't cry. I've actually never cried in an MCU movie. Even when Tony Stark died, I never cried. Ever. I'm not trying to sound like a macho dude. I didn't cry. In this film, though, I gotta admit, there were 2 or 3 moments where I teared up. I didn't cry like a baby, like tears, but my eyes were getting watery. Plus, I yawned. That didn't help. I have allergies. That didn't help. So, and I have glasses. So, of course, you take your glasses off to clean your eyes. My uncle's like, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "No, I haven't. I yawned." You know what I mean? But I did tear up. All right, I'm man enough to admit I teared up like a man should and would during this shit, because it gets pretty brutal. It's pretty sad. And there were sad moments, there were happy moments that also made you tear up, because again, I care about these characters, I care about their motives and where they're going and all that. And if an MCU movie is done right, which some of them have not been too right, this one gets it right, thankfully. So hopefully we can continue that trend of no political messaging, just good, solid films with good payoffs, good action, good CGI. I didn't even mention the CGI because it was good. You know what I mean? How many times have I mentioned, oh, Shang-Chi had this moment that was pretty bad, or Miss Marvel had really bad CGI, She-Hulk had really bad CGI, Moon Knight was good for the most part. What else? Hawkeye was alright, I guess. Cosmo the Space Dog, from what I understand, from what my eyes could see, is CGI. But for a CGI animal in an MCU movie that really isn't in a whole lot, I think it was pretty good. Of course, obviously the monsters and whatever, stuff like that, the background, space, that ain't real. But it was good enough where I was like, okay, this isn't taking me out of it. This is good and it's fun. With one moment where Mantis slid off a big creature, I was like, I could tell that the motion was a little kind of like string beanie, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of like stretchy and weird. But again, that's a freaking nitpick, you know what I mean? I'm really not trying to get into nitpicks. But as a whole, though, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a great MCU, one of the best MCU movies I think we've ever gotten. Period. It's that good. I mean, it blows 1 and 2 out of the... And I love 1 and 2, but it blows those out of the water. It blows practically everything in Phase 4 out of the freaking of the ocean. You know what I mean? And it really does a good job with what they've set out to do. And I can't wait to see where the Guardians go next, where James Gunn goes next, if he even comes back to the MCU. But yeah, man, I'm excited. So I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 an A-. My only issues were that Adam Warlock, again, he's in it so much, he does kind of... He kind of bogs it down a bit, because every time he's in it, you're like, he either made a joke that wasn't funny, or he didn't do anything of substance. And then you cut back to them, and you're like, all right, cool, you got me. Back to Adam. You know what I mean? So I'm sure they'll flesh him out more in the later projects. Right now, though, he did kind of bog the film down a little bit. The marketing, I was talking with Echo, and he was like, the marketing kind of misled. Just see the movie. That's all I can say. It's hard to talk. Just see the freaking movie, all right? Guardians of the freaking Galaxy, baby, like Rocket would say. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie. In fact, like I said, I truly think it's one of the better MCU movies we've gotten since Endgame. It's very well made, and I can't wait to see it again. It's funny. It's action-packed. It's sad. It's everything you'd want a Guardians film and everything you'd want an MCU movie to be. So hope you guys enjoyed my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review. We're going to go right into spoilers now, quickly. I'm not going to keep you guys too much longer. But again, if you have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and you do care about getting spoiled, you don't care about getting spoiled, whatever. Go. Because I don't want to be that guy and be like, franchise, you ruined it. If you haven't seen the movie, that's the end of the review. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all that. We'll see you in the next video. But right now, we're going to move on to spoilers. So, you have been warned. So Rocket dies. Going with that. He goes to Animal Heaven. He meets his little buddies. He does come back to life, which is where Echo was like, there's no consequences. I think if Rocket did die and stayed dead, that would have sucked. Because it would have destroyed the entire plot. It would have just left the film on a bad note. And it would have been, that mission that the Guardians did the whole 2.5 hours? Yeah, that didn't work, and it all went to hell. That would have been a really bad ending. So I'm very glad that he did live. But the moments I teared up was when, of course, the end, of course, where Nebulous is Drax's dad, where Drax just calms the kids down, and he kind of like bops Mantis on the head, and she starts laughing. That got me teary up, just because Drax, ever since Guardians 1, he was like, I'm a destroyer, I'm angry, I'm mad. And then in this, he finally kind of finds his true purpose. Since he lost his wife and his daughter, him interacting with these little girls and all that it was pretty cool to see. Of course, the ending, like I said, when the Lila or something, the ferret thing with the robotic arms. When all the animals die, it was sad. But Rocket just mourning and like yelling out of pure rage and sadness, I wasn't expecting that, and that caught me off guard, and that made me tear up a bit. And I think that might have been it. Also, I teared up when Chris Pratt thought he died and he was screaming. of course, look, Chris Pratt is a fantastic actor, and I know half the Democrats hate him. Republicans love him because he's Catholic, but at the same time, you know, he's genuinely, from what I understand, I don't know him, but from what I've seen, he seems like an alright dude. But he's a damn good actor, but yeah, I'll admit he's in too much stuff, alright? He's freaking Mario, he's gonna be Garfield, he's Emmett in the Lego movies, he's Star-Lord, he's Owen Grady, he's me, he's your mom, he's everyone, he's my dog, you know what I mean? He's in every effing movie under the sun. And yeah, he's good, but he's in too much stuff. But he's good in this movie. I think this is probably his best performance in the entire MCU, I think. But yeah, I mean, as far as spoilers, I mean, Adam Warlock, like I said, he kind of has this little arc, which I didn't like it too much. It was whatever. It was just like, you know, it was okay. He was just like, oh, I'm angry, and then he gets angry at his mom, and then he faints, and then he joins the Guardians, I guess. And now the new Guardians, of course, they all separate. They're still going to band together if they need to, but the new Guardians is, of course, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, who looks like a different tree thing now, like he evolved again. Adam Warlock, one of those girls, the little girls, the species, like the yellow whatever, white chick, I don't know her name. Chick, she's like 4. I don't know her name, or the species, but whatever, so she's in there. I don't remember who else. But yeah, there are 2 after credit scenes. I should have said that in the last thing, but yeah, I think they were pretty cool. Star-Lord meeting his grandpa was cool, I guess. I mean, they alluded to it in the beginning, so that's cool. But, yeah, man, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, nothing too insane happened as far as, like, the future of the MCU. But as this is kind of a lower stakes, really the whole film is just about them trying to save Rocket from dying. I think it was funny and action-packed and good. And as far as spoilers go, yeah, it was pretty intense. Pretty insane, but also, man, that reveal of the High Evolutionary where she just stabs him and rips his face off, and you see, like, his skin melt, and you literally see his organs on his face. That was what I meant when I said Evil Dead Rise shit, because, man, that was crazy. Again, in my opinion, as I know, hopefully people should have the same opinion that the MCU is not for kids, but that was, my dad went, ugh, when that happened. So if a 50-year-old man can go, ugh, I don't think an 8-year-old would like it. But, yeah, I think it's a very good movie, and I can't wait to see where the Guardians go next. And, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the future of this franchise. I wasn't so hyped on the MCU for a little bit, not gonna lie. Phase 4 kind of ruined it a little bit. But now, especially with this film, hopefully, without any messaging or any of that crap, just give me good movies again, like this one. Hopefully, I think we'll be on the right path. But, yeah, if you have any thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, tell me down below without ruining it. And, yeah, can't wait to cover more MCU stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next video.